Hi everyone, thank you so much for being here. I'm really nervous and excited to talk about what I'm going to talk about today. This is the second time that I'm recording, and the first video I made somehow miraculously did not make it on my device. Only about a minute was saved on, and I was about an hour. It was about an hour long video, and I shared a very personal and private storyline of mine that's been unfolding for the past 6 years. So this is my second attempt to recording, and so hopefully you can see me well. I'm using a different device to record, and but thank you for being here. So I just want to say that what I'm about to share and disclose is a very sensitive topic, and it's something that's been unfolding in my life for the past 6 years. And it's a major there's been major synchronicities that have been unfolding over the past 6 years. And so the story begins during the time that they forced everyone into lockdown. So just to give you a time reference of when everything started to lay out. And so during that time, my partner and I at the time took the money that they were giving everyone during that period, and we bought a piece of land in Cochise County, Arizona. And the reason why we did that is because we both kind of knew that although we were being forced into lockdown and there was a lot of drama and a lot of things like that during that period for everyone, for the whole globe, we knew that there was a possibility that this was going to invite people to step into a more spiritual nature. Like, we knew this was like some type of spiritual awakening process for people. No, we're not okay with being forced locked down. No, we're not okay with there being planned major events that impact people in that way and on that level. No, we're not okay with that. At the same time, we knew that people were going to start to wonder, start to think, start to ask questions, start to maybe ponder like spiritual concepts and things like that, and sovereignty. And so at the time, my partner and I, we wanted to think about ways that we can self-empower ourselves with the situation. And so we took the stimulus checks that they were giving and we put it into buying a piece of land. And this land is in Cochise County, Arizona, near the Dragoon Mountains. Cochise County, Arizona, and the Dragoon Mountains are a significant area in Native and the First Peoples history here, and their connection to the American government coming in and coming in and as they did and taking over basically the lands. And so the Dragoon Mountains carries a huge historical significance for the negotiations that took place with the First People, Native spiritual leaders and warriors at that time, and the American military at that time. So the Dragoon Mountains in Cochise County is a significant geographical location. When we purchased the land in that area, we had no idea. I wasn't even involved in the research process in deciding where the land was going to be that we were purchasing it. At the time, my partner is more inclined to do the research, and that's a huge part of the process. And I was just on the trusting it. I just pitched in my money and I was like, yeah, let's do it. And my partner at the time came back to me and said, okay, here are a few plots of land that I found that we think was fair pricing. And we had no rhyme or reason outside of that. We didn't even really know what it meant to buy a piece of land. We didn't know about zonings. We didn't know about anything like that, really. So just to give context, we went into buying a piece of land in that area without any pre-knowledge about the area and its significance. So this was about 7 years ago. And since then, I haven't even been able to visit the land yet. I've never been there. But it was a moment where we felt like proud, and that because, you know, one of the ideas that's kind of paved in our psychology is that one of our rights and our freedoms and our ability to prosper and thrive and all these things is to you know, own a piece of land. And so we were happy that we had did that, and it kind of just made me very happy inside. And so because I never got the chance to go and visit the land and the property, I would spend at least once a year for some reason in the past, like the first 3 years that we owned it, like I would go on Google Maps and I would like just look at the land and look at the area and kind of see what's around. And then I was like, what's the Dragoon Mountains? Who's Cochise? And like, what is this? And so I slowly over the years started to do research on the area, and I started to just look at Google Maps, and I was like, what's around? Are there any major towns? What's the closest town nearby? So I was just doing research in that sense, and it's a pretty secluded area. There's not a lot there, and there's a historical landmark in the Dragoon Mountain area, and there's like a small town near the main road in that area as well. But other than that, there's not much there. A few homesteads are around, and so as I was looking at Google Maps over the years, I found a temple that was probably less than half a mile from where our land, near the Dragoon Mountains. And I don't know if it's a Buddhist, a Taoist, or a Hindu temple. I don't have that off the top of my head, but I knew that these temples are strategically placed on the ley lines, on Gaia, on Mother Earth, on Pachamama. So I was like, wait a minute, like this is a significant area in terms of a ley line positioning. And at that time, I was just starting to expand and learn about ley lines and consciousness and awareness and our cosmic history and our galactic history. I was just being introduced to those concepts, not even around that time, but I was starting to slowly learn about ley lines. I guess you can say that was my introduction to understanding our planetary system is part of a cosmic system and a galactic system. So that was kind of how that unfolded for me. But I'm going somewhere with all of this because there's been a major synchronicity unfolding in my life, and I've been invited to step in this certain kind of resonance field with a topic that's highly sensitive. And I feel odd, and I kind of feel sad about how I feel about a topic related to the natives of the land, the first peoples of the land. And it's something that I haven't been able to talk about, and it's something that I haven't been able to share because, like I said, it's a very sensitive topic. But I'm here to just lay it all out, and I've never been able to do this before. So going back to Cochise County in Arizona, I saw that there is a temple nearby. So then I was like, okay, there's major ley lines that are running in this area that are significant. And after finding that temple, I was continuing to do research in that area and found that other people were highly interested in that same area. And another group in Cochise County, I don't know if you want to call them a group, but there's this lodging area that you can go to, and where they provide spiritual healing practices. They have shamans there. You can lodge there. You can like stay there if you need to. And I found another website that another website that unpacked the ley lines in that area, and they were referencing them to the mother ley lines. And these mother ley lines formed a beautiful geometric shape, and it encompassed the area that we had purchased the land in. And keep in mind, like, at that time, I had no like conscious awareness of the significance and the impact and what was happening and what happens to the historicness of ley lines and how they're the energetic, channels of Gaia and our connection to the cosmos and the heavens. Like, I had no reference point. So this was a slow process that unfolded over the past 6 years. And it started to begin with that. And so this group that's like in that area has this random lodging house, and you can go and you can receive spiritual healing, and there's, like I said, shamans there. And then another group, they're kind of pouring out the information of what these mother ley lines are, and they go into breaking that down. And so I remember asking my partner at the time, I was like, what made you feel called to choose that area and that land in particular? And they had no there was no like reason to it other than we thought it was like a fair pricing. And so there was no like conscious awareness of like why we chose that area. So but after unfolding all of that research, I'm like, this is a major synchronicity. Like there's a reason why, like, synchronistically we chose that area, whether we were conscious or unconscious about it at all. And then to find out the significance of the ley lines there. So that started to become one major synchronicity for me. And this is all going to lead into something that the topic that I want to talk about that's highly sensitive. So I'm going to present that down the line, but I want to give context. So years passed, and I still haven't, even to this day, been to the land. But I will still, my heart and my soul still longs to know about the area and research it and just look at the pictures online on Google Maps. And then about 2 or 3 years passed, and on my YouTube algorithm, I got suggested the most random person on my channel, and her name is Magenta Pixie. And Magenta Pixie is a channeler or a medium, and she channels in, I believe it's called the White Wing Collective of 9, the White Wing Collective of 9. And she channels them in. And so when I was suggested this person on my YouTube channel, like, she's from England, and I didn't even know this kind of thing existed. And so I went onto her YouTube page, and I saw that she has been doing videos for the past like 15 years, 16 years on this topic of ascension, of consciousness, of, the splitting of the new earth. And so that made me feel really reassured, because nowadays we have a lot of new age information out, but there are people out there that have been tapped into consciousness, to awareness, to our divine spirits in nature, and that who've been doing this work for a really long time. And Magenta Pixie was one of those individuals. She has video, you can go onto her YouTube and see that she has videos 15 years old, 16 years old. And so I felt really confident and reassured that I can lean into her work and learn from her. And so I just, from there, the next year to 2 years, I would sit with Magenta's work. And Magenta does an incredible job at channeling in this high level White Wing Collective of 9, and they're of a higher consciousness and higher dimension, and she's brings it down, and she can, in almost in layman's terms, explain what's happening, she's been, even before the lockdown events and before all of these the major disclosures that we have of like negative oriented forces versus like positive oriented forces, duality, polarity, bifurcation, triification. So she's been in this space and in this work for now thinking about it, because at the time it was like 15-16 years old videos, but now it's been add 3 years to that. So she's been in the game way early on and ahead of anything that we're tapping into now, or like a lot of new age. And I'm not trying to compare, but I'm just saying that in terms of feeling like she is a trusted source for me to learn from, I trusted that. And so I leaned into her work for about a year or 2 years, like I said. And then the most amazing thing happened. So remember, I have now, for me, it's a deep tie. It's a personal tie to owning a piece of land in Cochise County near the Dragoon Mountains. It's something that I just love in my heart and have been connected to and tied into. And I continually like think about it, and I like do research on the area, and I've learned about Cochise, the native warrior and leader of his group and tribe that started negotiation with the American military, and the government at the time. So I started learning the history. I started learning about the Dragoon Mountains. It's where he's from, Cochise. It's where he's from. It's where his peoples are from. It's his land. It's his home. It's something that they obviously would give their lives for, and so as it goes. And so 2 years later, or a couple years later, Magenta Pixie comes online into my framework. I sit with her work for about a year or 2 years, and then around the 2-year mark, the most incredible thing, the most unbelievable thing happens. A Magenta Pixie is a person that lives in England. She channels in the collective, the White Wing Collective of 9, and so she has a specific tie to who she channels in. She helps people understand the process of the split that's happening, and now it's the triification. So she goes into depth on that, and basically with the triification, we know that people are going to be staying stuck in the matrix versus people who are breaking out of the matrix, and then there are those that walk the middle path that will be helping people who want to exit the matrix and who will be assisting them during that process. So your healers, your teachers, your guides, your mentors that are spiritually conscious, who will be helping, because it's a pretty intense process, especially if you've done it on your own. We know I have that experience. It can be pretty intense. It can be a long journey. It can be a long journey of unfoldment. It can take years. But now things are changing. And so she talks about the triification, the middle ground, the middle path, like not choosing AI versus choosing AI, and then those that kind of like stick to the middle, but stay sovereign. And so that's her majority of what I've seen of the work that she posts. So that's my connection with her. But then the most incredible thing happens. After the 2-year mark of me sitting with her work, she posts a video, and it's on her YouTube channel. It's a very private and personal YouTube video that she posts. And I feel very careful on wanting to talk about it, because it is a very personal story to her. But she felt that it was time in the cosmos and the collective conscious to share her personal story that's very layered. But I will only touch on certain parts of it that relate to Cochise and Cochise County, Arizona, and the ley lines there. So she posts a video, and she titles it like Cochise, and I just about just lost my mind, because she posts a video, a very private and personal one, and she opens up more or less, it's been a couple years that I've seen it, but more or less, and she says, guys, like, I'm basically ready to share this very private experience that I've been having. I've built a very close and personal and intimate friendship with this person in the spiritual realm, and his name is Cochise. And I could not believe I could not believe it. I was like, how, like, this was such an astronomical moment for me, and a major synchronicity that played out over the years. And it's almost as if I had to like work with Magenta in terms of like being close with her work, and then like I got somehow invited into this coach's person and character. And so she presents this video of saying, guys, I've had this friend on the spiritual realm. I think she said for like, I think it's been like since the beginning of her channeling and her awakening, that she's had this friend named Cochise. And then she goes on to explain that Cochise is from Cochise County, like the Cochise County, Arizona, that we know today, and that he was a spiritual warrior and leader, and a leader of his people. And she shares this video, and I'm just so excited about it. I'm like, oh my God. So there's this link, this Native First Peoples link, that I'm being like walked down the path. Like I'm being shown there's some kind of importance to learning and knowing about something that, in terms of the natives and the first people, that the collective we don't know about yet. And I'm being invited into this space. And so before I begin her telling a little bit about her friendship that she built with him, I can now kind of introduce why I'm making this video. And it's because for the past couple years that all of this has been unfolding for me, this really strange feeling has been entering my resonance field. And when I think about the history of the natives and the first peoples of this land, and how the monarch systems from England and Spain came and conquered, I felt like, and I feel, and I believe in my heart that something is really off about that storyline. Something is seriously off. Like 99.9% is being hidden from us, and we don't know the actual truth. And I've been feeling this feeling in my resonance field for so long. And what I'm about to say, I feel like makes me very nervous and a little bit anxious, because it's a very sensitive thing to say. But I feel that, so why I'm being led on this journey and what's being shown in my resonance field is that the Native Americans, or the natives, the first peoples, the natives of this land, became misaligned in something. They were supposed to do something, or they didn't do something, or that they stepped away and off track from something that basically opened up the field and allowed for some type of alignment to occur for the monarch systems to come in and to even be able to do what they did. So I like, again, it makes me very, like, my heart starts to flutter when I say that, because it's like, how can you blame a group for what had happened? And that's not what I'm saying. And I don't want to make that the direction. It's on a spiritual and higher level. Something was supposed to happen, or they were supposed to do something, cosmologically, spiritually, that got misaligned, that allowed the space, is what I'm saying, for the monarchy system to come in and basically conquer the lands. Now, before I go into Magenta Pixie's personal story about her relationship and friendship that she had with Cochise, let me explain my perspective. Okay, so first of all, you have to think about it in this way. The natives and the first people of the land were highly spiritually advanced beings, okay? Anyone who tells you they were just hunter-gatherers, they just went around their day, no. If you were a leader, if you were a shaman, if you were an elder, or if you were part of the natives and the first people and you had a special ability, you were a part of ceremonial practices and spaces to access higher knowledge, higher wisdom, and to be one with the spiritual space, the spiritual realms, the spiritual heavens. Okay, so when you think about it like that, you had leaders and tribal members, leaders, spiritual warriors, shamans, like I said, who were highly advanced spiritual beings. They knew advanced information about cosmology, about astrology, about astronomy, about the earth, about the cycles of the earth. They were one with their lands. They were one with nature. There are stories about the Aboriginals being able to insert themselves into the spirit of the mountains, into the spirit of the rocks. When you have the ability to work on the field, the etheric field, the primordial field, the quantum field, the multidimensional field, they knew about multidimensionality, they knew about timelines, they knew about accessing and breaking the laws of physics. When you can insert your soul and your spirit into the rock and become one with the rock, you can access portals, you can access Stargate systems and Sungate systems and Sungate portals. So that's who I'm referencing when I speak about the native people of the lands who experienced being conquered by the monarch system. So I'm not talking about people who were not knowledgeable. Yes, they didn't have the weaponry system in place like the monarchy did, and so granted, but we're talking about highly advanced spiritual people that were highly attuned. And when you think about the native people and the first people, they were not inundated. Their systems, their psychology, their mind frame, their framework, their blueprints, if you will, were not inundated how ours are today. A lot of us today have to work on removing the inundation, if that's even a word, from our systems today. And our society and today, we're starting to use plant medicine and psychedelics to tap into our toes, into what was already mastered by the natives and the first people. Using plant medicine was a sacred practice and was given to those that had the rite of passage. So when you are being invited into ceremonial spaces, when you're a leader or a spiritual warrior or a warrior or an elder, or if you're a shaman, or if you're an individual at that time that had a special ability, oh yeah, like I can talk to the birds, or like, oh yeah, like the deers speak to me, or like I can heal and I can see into your field and see where you have illness and I can remove that and upgrade your system. Like, you have to think about these individuals were accessing the quantum spiritual field. Like, that was a big part of their life, and it was a very sacred part of their life. And so that's who I'm referencing when I say that something got misaligned, that they had stepped away from something. And for so long I felt uncomfortable even saying that and feeling that, but that feeling kept entering my resonance field. And to say that without even having the information to be like, yes, this is why I feel that way, because X, Y, and Z, because they walked away from this principle, or they walked away from this teaching, or they stepped away from this, whatever. Like, I can't just go into Google search bar and say, oh, like, I believe that something got misaligned, and which opened up the space to be basically conquered spiritually and physically with the lands and everything like that. I can't just like research that. So I've sat with this feeling and this resonance for years, and slowly over time I've been given confirmation that there was a misalignment. So going back to how spiritually advanced these beings were, when you just think about a shaman, right? Our everyday shaman today, what do they have access to? They have access to multidimensionality. They have access to timelines, to the quantum fields. They have access to quantum healing. Like, they can look through the field, right? Like, this is who we're referencing. This is who I'm referencing when I speak about the natives and the first people. They knew, like I said, cosmology, astronomy, astrology. They knew about cycles. They knew about the time wave. Now, as I say that, I believe, I don't have proof of this. I don't even know where to begin on researching this, but at the same time, there's something in my resonance field telling me that the monarchy system didn't just, we sent out a couple of boats and they discovered land. Like, I don't think that to be true one bit. I believe that the monarchy system had an equal amount of information and knowledge on cosmology. The monarchy system had an equal amount of knowledge on astronomy, on astrology, on solar eclipses, on summoning war gods, just as I believe that the first peoples had first-hand abilities, like master abilities, to work with different gods, work with different titans on the lands, work with different beings on the lands. And I believe that the monarchy system were equally aware in how to, whatever cosmic beings took over this system, took over the lands, know about sacrificing and summoning the war gods, using solar eclipses to aid in their want and will to take over, to cause war and destruction and chaos. And so I believe at that time when it occurred, I believe the negative oriented cosmic beings that came to take over were equally aware of again, astrology, astronomy, cosmology, summoning the war gods, using different, entities and energies to support and back their mission. I believe that the monarchy system, I believe that the takeover of the lands was a high intel mission. I believe it was a very structured mission plan, with high levels of intelligence involved, and knowing that there was some type of opening and space, whether it was a solar eclipse or whether it was just a certain cycle that was going on, where there was some kind of opening and space that made that time vulnerable for the peoples of this land. And they came in and they just didn't want to just discover land. So when you think about it in the galactic sense and the cosmic sense, both sides, the first peoples and the natives, knew and know about gods and goddesses as titans in the mountains of the lands, of titans in the rocks. And the monarchy system, I believe, were equally aware. They were equally aware that there was advanced spiritual practices and connection and unity and activation of spirit and source, of God's source within the peoples at this time. And so it is my full belief that the monarchy system, in order to cut the process from connection of source in God and the spirit in the person, right, in you, in order to cut that, you have to control the information. So what are they looking to do? The monarchy system, the cosmic beings, the negative oriented cosmic beings that want to overtake a land, a promised land, if you will. One, you need to control the titans. You need to find a way to disconnect and make dormant and these titans, these guardians of the lands. You need to find a way to disconnect the peoples from that source. You need to control the land. You need to remove the people. You need to control the information. You need to control the spiritual gnosis, any writings or teachings or storytelling that is being passed on generation and generation of a spiritual gnosis and spiritual mastery, and being one with the lands and working with all spirits of the lands, working with the guardians of the lands. That needs to be cut, right? So you can control the information. You can dismantle the information, and then you can control the history. So the monarchy system and the cosmic beings that are controlling this high level intel mission, they need to control the lands. They need to put dormant and hide and destroy any guardians of the lands, any the ley lines. This is going back to Cochise County, why this whole journey started for me and unfolded for me, because we know the significance of the ley lines. And if you can control the ley lines, then you can control the energetic field of our planetary system. You can control consciousness. You can control the direction of a soul's path. You can control the incoming and outgoing souls of our realm. So I believe it was a high, that's why I'm saying I believe it's a high intel mission. This was one of the highest cosmic level missions you can take on. You're literally coming in and controlling the lands, and you're cutting off these abilities that are there. So you control the titans, the guardians of the lands. You cut off spirit from source. You control the information. You stop these practices altogether, because now you have full control of a peoples. We know that they were assimilated. They had to drop their culture and their practices. So you cut the practice of having an intimate personal relationship, conscious, aware relationship with spirit, God's source. You need to cut this off. You need to control the lands. You need to control the guardians. You need to put them in stasis and in dormancy. You need to now, so there's that's one. Two, you know that gold is a prophecy. They knew that there's living gold, and that gold is a prophecy. This is a promised land. This America's, the America is a promised land of gold. So now we know in our cosmic history, in our galactic history, that gold is of supreme importance. We knew this about other cosmic beings, that they were always after gold. It's what they used to shield and protect their planetary systems. There's living gold, right? Like you can, I don't even have the full extensive knowledge on how far living gold goes in terms of the cosmic beings and things like that, and what it does for us. And we know it's a what's the word when it's an energetic conductor. We know gold is a conductor. So the monarchy system, the cosmic beings, the negative forces knew that. So now they need to control the process of gold. They need to control who's going to have access to it. They need to control the financial systems. So them coming in and controlling the lands, that's another process and part to it. And so that's kind of the feeling and what's coming into my resonance field. There was a major misalignment with the native first people. They didn't do something, or something was supposed to happen. And I believe a very vulnerable time frame opened up cosmologically wise, astronomically wise, astrology, in terms of astrology. I feel like there was a vulnerable period that both sides may have been equally aware of. And of course, when you are negative forces are controlling the monarchy system, they are well equipped, and also they brought diseases. We know that pretty much almost about helped them in their aid of controlling the lands is they were just infiltrated with disease. So in saying that, I feel like something was misaligned during that time period with the first peoples. It's very hard for me to feel that way. It's very hard for me to say that, but it is in my resonance field, and I believe there might be something to it. So then I get confirmation from Magenta Pixie, who I was mentioning, who's from England, never been to the States, and she stated in her video that she's not too familiar with the details of of the history between the natives and the American government at the time and the American military. And it makes sense to me because it's like, I don't know the intimacy and all the details of the history of, you know, England, and, you know, I don't, so it makes sense. She's kind of like an innocent person in that way, where she doesn't know all the details of her history. She's not from here. You know, she didn't go through our school system. So then she begins to share this friendship that she's had with Cochise, a spiritual native warrior and leader of his tribe. And she goes on to explain how there's just been a deep connection with him, a deep friendship. And then it comes into confirmation for me, because now I'm on this narrative and storyline of learning about the natives and being connected to the ley lines in Cochise, near the Dragoon Mountains in Arizona. And then I start feeling this resonance in my field that something seriously went wrong that we don't know about, and they're not talking to us about it, and they're hiding it. I'm shaking a little bit. So then she goes on, and I want to be highly respectful to Magenta Pixie and the work that she shares. I do feel a little bit comfortable because she publicly posted this video. So if you want to watch the original story, I highly recommend it. It's a beautiful story that she has built with Cochise over I think she said it was like since almost the beginning of her becoming a channel. It's a beautiful story, and I want to be absolutely respectful to her friendship and her relationship that she's built. There is a direct tie to my life, in a sense, with her sharing that story, and it's been a confirmation for me. And so the incredible story about Cochise, and first of all, it's funny because in her channeling and her work with Cochise, he tells her that's not his real name. And she laughs about it because he's tried to tell her how he's tried to teach her, you know, their friendship on the spiritual realm. He's tried to teach her how to say his real name, but it's, I guess, apparently really hard to pronounce. And so she for the life of her can't pronounce his real name, even though I would be really interested to know his real name. But for some reason he got coined as Cochise. And so she continues to reference him as Cochise. It's part of the title of her video. And so she goes on to discuss how they built an intimate friendship over the years. And he begins to share with her a story that's not in our history books and that's not known about and talked about. And so Cochise was a spiritual warrior who was involved in the negotiation process with the American government and the American military. And we all know, though, that the negotiations that took place were whenever were with good intentions by the American military, American government. We know that there was a lot of deception, there were a lot of lies, and there was betrayal. And so that was Cochise's experience with the negotiation process with the American government at the time. And so he goes on to say that he was a part of the negotiation process. And then he shares an experience that he has. And I'm paraphrasing here. Magenta's video is about an hour or two long. And so I'm just paraphrasing and taking what I feel is relevant to my life and my story and what I'm learning and what's been a major synchronicity for me. So just keep that in mind. And so he goes on to share a very important story and experience that he had. So the American military was blaming Cochise and his tribe for an incident that took place that Cochise said his people didn't do. And from my understanding, when you're a native and when you're a First People and when you are at war, there is still a high level of code of honor that you follow even during war times. And so so keep that in mind. So because Cochise's tribe and group were being blamed for something that he says they didn't do, as a code of honor and to show a level of innocence in what they're being accused of, Cochise brought in to the general, the military general at the time, Cochise brought forward and in some of his immediate family members, who, as a way of showing, of proving their innocence, of saying, I'm the spiritual warrior leader of this group, to show you that we are innocent of what you're accusing us of doing, and to try to calm the situation down. I bring forward to you what's closest to me in my heart, so you can see that in my heart we are speaking the truth. I'm bringing with me to you, I believe, I can't remember exactly which family members he brought in, but it was some of his immediate family members. And unfortunately, it didn't go well, and they were attacked, and some of his family members did lose their life, and they were pretty much unarmed, because he came in I believe almost unarmed, bringing in the vulnerability of bringing in the immediate family members of your group to prove your innocence as a code of honor, and to calm the situation down. And it didn't go well, like I said, and sadly he lost a couple of his family members, and he was able to escape. But from that moment, he lost all respect for any American personnel, and deemed them the lowest of low. And from there, lived a life in a lot of great pain and a lot of great grief and suffering. And he just knew from there that they don't have any code of honor, and even during war times. And so he was explaining to Magenta, more or less, as I'm paraphrasing, he was explaining to her that because Cochise was adept in the spiritual space, because remember, these are highly spiritual, advanced beings that are completely in tuned with the spiritual realms. He told Magenta Pixie, he said, I created a curse and a bind. He didn't know that. So Magenta was saying that because in the spiritual spaces, he claimed and said he will spend every lifetime seeking revenge for what happened. And so Magenta Pixie was explaining to him, because you're on the spiritual realm, you're in the spiritual space, you know the importance of the spell casting, is basically, she was explaining to him, he created a curse and a bind. And so Cochise was also highly adept in knowing the importance of blood and your bones, your DNA, your genetics. So these are highly advanced spiritual beings. And so Magenta and Cochise worked for a really long time, and she was explaining to him how, like, we're growing in consciousness, we're growing in awareness. This has what's been going on in our collective since you've been gone. And she asked him and was steering him towards trying to have forgiveness. And so I guess it took like, their friendship has spanned, I think at this point, like over 15 years. And so as she's been teaching him things about our current dimension and what we're trying to do here, he was teaching her things as well. But one of the key elements that she assisted Cochise in is letting go of the anger and letting go of revenge in his heart, and to have ultimate forgiveness. And so, long story short, he was able to get to that point on his spiritual path, and he agreed, and he then proposed to Magenta Pixie that he was going to spend his time reversing the curse and the binding that he had originally done, and he's going to do whatever he can to help bring balance. And so I just thought that was a really amazing synchronicity and storyline that I feel like I got welcomed into, first by purchasing the piece of land there, being invited to learn about the ley lines, being invited to learn about Cochise, being invited to think about our cosmic connection to the vulnerability of what may have happened to allow for negative oriented cosmic beings to come in and have a high level military operation to take place and to conquer the lands here, for, like I said, for controlling the major titans and the beings on the lands and the gods and goddesses that work on the land and on the ley lines and our cosmic connection. So I feel like from the beginning of me purchasing the land and learning about the ley lines and the temples and the beautiful geometric shapes that the ley lines form, and learning about Magenta's story and friendship that she has built with Cochise, and how he's going to work to help bring balance and restore what has happened. It's all kind of confirming to me, and that I may be onto something where something had happened. I know Cochi's story with Magenta doesn't speak on where they were misaligned, the first peoples, or where they may have misstepped or what they weren't doing. I know it doesn't directly speak to that, but for some reason it's connecting to the resonance field that I have of there was a vulnerable position and time frame that something was supposed to happen, a practice or ceremonies, or just anchoring in something to help protect, maybe during a vulnerable time that both sides equally were aware of. And so then I'm still on this journey and still on this process of trying to bring in the consciousness and awareness that I need to see where I'm wrong in my feeling, or why I'm being invited into the space that something didn't happen, that the natives, first peoples, something was misaligned. And so I'm continuing on my work, living my normal life, and I'm still left with this feeling like our history is wrong, and there's some type of prophecy that was supposed to happen that didn't happen, that caused the calamity of negative forces being able to come in, control the monarchy system, and take over. And so as I'm still growing as a person, as I'm still learning consciousness and even understanding the language, it's a whole new language, right? So I'm still on my journey, I'm still learning, I'm still trying to align my life with my actions and my thoughts. I'm still trying to clear any type of, doing like any clearing on imprints and clearing my blueprint and coming back into full union. Like, I'm still a human and I'm still working on that process. And as I'm on that journey, another 2 year passes after being invited into Magenta's Pixie space, being close with her work for about a year or two, her sharing her personal intimate story about Cochise, that linking into my life of owning a piece of land there. And then, really cool story about that, I emailed Magenta Pixie saying, hey, like, thank you so much, like, this is who I am, and you've unpacked a major synchronicity in my life. I bought this piece of land during this time, I had no idea, but you came into my life, and then you shared the story. And she responded almost immediately. It was like the next day, and she just said, like, oh my gosh, like, thank you so much. And she said, if you are further interested in learning about the ley lines, because in the email I told her, I said, there's major ley lines in that area that are highly significant to the mother ley lines. And she was already way ahead of the game, of course. And she said if I wanted to look further into it, to look into this person, I forgot his name, and then she said those ley lines in that area is directly linked to Orion. So I'm like, I haven't even gone down that rabbit hole yet, but I continue to live my life and learn and grow. And as I'm doing so, I'm introduced a couple years later, I'm introduced to another amazing, I don't even know, star being, person, human, divine human being, like starlight human. Her name is Rainetta Jones, and I love her so much. She passed away last year. She was a highly targeted individual, and she succumbed to the targeting. And so, but she's an incredible, she's an inventor, she's a psychic, has access to different reality, to different kingdoms, hidden realms. She has access to some hidden realms that are here, like El Dorado and Atlantis. She can communicate with the mountains. She was able to communicate with the Titans, with any gods or goddesses that were in the lands. She was able to see and connect, and they were able to story tell with her. And she talks about the importance of our genetic makeup and our cosmic genetic history. She talks about that. She has an incredible YouTube channel. She's a major inspiration to me, and she's a teacher and a mentor and someone that I miss dearly in my heart. And like I said, she passed away last year. And but she enters my field now, and she has now, in the same thing that happened with Magenta Pixie, this person gets recommended to my YouTube algorithm, Rainetta Jones. I don't know why, but I'm immediately inspired. I immediately call her my teacher and my mentor, and I sit with her work for about a year. About 2 years pass, and all this time I'm still sitting with the feeling that about the natives and the first people. I'm still sitting with that feeling, trying to figure out how to figure this out. And then Rainetta comes in after Magenta shares her experience with Code Cheese. And so Rainetta comes in. I sit with her work for about a year or two, and then she starts to share her experiences being able to go into the hidden realms and to hidden kingdoms that are kind of like parallel to our realm that we're living in. And she's able to connect with the king of El Dorado, King Oban is his name, and other amazing, like I said, she's been able to connect with the mountains and just receive telepathic information from the titans and the beings that are there. And incredible. She talks about the gold, the living gold, but where it's directly linked to this topic of this video is that she starts to talk about her discovery of there being 3 queens. And there's an importance to the 3, the Trinity, the 3. And there's an importance to the maternal, the feminine, and there being 3. And so she discovers that they're sitting in the mountain spaces in West Texas area. And she goes there and she visits them and she works with them, and she gets the information from them. And they're talking, however they're doing it, they're letting her know the part of the reason why there's been such a huge, I guess, attack on the feminine, or a lot of distortion with the feminine and the maternal and the maternal lines and the feminine lines, is because that there are the proper order of I guess life is that it's meant to be matriarchal. And I'm not saying that the women take over the world. That's not what I'm saying. So Rainetta goes on to explain that the matriarchal system runs in a trinity, and there's supposed to be a king, or the male, the masculine, that marries with, marries the matriarchy basically, and he's supported by the divine feminine, by the Trinity. And it's the matriarchal lineage, it's the matriarchal that sets the rules and the laws, and they set the goals and the implementation of economy and well-being and wellness and structure for groups and society and life. And it's the man that's supposed to be implementing these laws, and so he's the kind of like the public figure, and he's supposed to be in charge of making sure everything is in good order, that the matriarchy, the 3 kind of formulate. And so this ties in because I have to watch it again, but again, I'm taking pieces over time that this has been unfolding for me. And so she talks about that she forgot, Rainetta Jones forgets that she was given a prophecy by King Oban, who is the king of the hidden realm of El Dorado. And they confirmed that what's happening is that they have been moving, that these 3 queens that are in the mountain ranges of West Texas are meant to come online, and they're coming online, and they're like the true, like, I guess, rulers, if you say, or it's the true lineage that's coming online. And because something was misaligned and that didn't happen with the first people, the natives, there has to be a form of, I guess, like repayment. Like when there's been an injustice, right, done to you, there's usually financial compensation. And so they are telling her that they've been moving gold through the trenches and through portals, and it's going to be coming online in America. And when they were telling her that, she remembered a prophecy that King Oban gave her, saying that, yes, confirming my feeling that I've been carrying for like years and not being able to talk to anyone about it or even say anything about it because it's a highly sensitive topic. And for a long time I was like, I don't even know if this is true. Like I can't go find a history book or Google it. Like I said, like I'm sitting with this feeling in my resonance field and I don't know how to even find truth in it. And it's been now like 4 or 5 years, a 4 or 5 year process and journey of finding the confirmations and the right people coming in my space. And so she says, King Oban tells her, yes, there was a misalignment, that the natives and the first, excuse me, that the natives and the first peoples were not remembering or not honoring where they had come from. They weren't honoring and remembering and doing what they needed to do to stay in alignment with the people, with where they had come from and the people that had helped them. And so there was a major misalignment. And so that brought confirmation to me that something was misaligned, that the natives and the first people misaligned somewhere, that there was a vulnerable period in time, and both the negative oriented beings and the monarchy system kind of equally knew and aware maybe there was an astronomical event or something like that, but there was a misalignment somewhere. And this King Oban from El Dorado confirmed with Rainetta Jones, saying yes, they stepped away from remembering and honoring where they had come from and the peoples that they had come from. And it could be linked to the matriarchal and the 3 queens that are in East Texas. There could be a link in that, but the official link that I have based off of trusted intel with Rainetta Jones and Magenta Pixie is that there's a huge connection to the gold. So gold has been coming in through the trenches system and through the portal system, because they need to kind of repay for the injustices that took place, and it's usually through a financial repayment. And that if you're true in heart and in spirit and in mind, that you're going to be one of the chosen people. But if you're greedy and you're evil and you're malice, you're going to go crazy trying to get access to this. So my battery's kind of running low and I don't know how much longer this is going to last, so sorry if it suddenly ends, but it brought confirmation to me. So to add to this, to the depth of the story, going back to Magenta Pixie, oh, my battery's gonna die.